I'm back again. And today I'd like to discuss with you an uncomfortable subject for most everybody. This is a matter of race. So I'm going to talk about race and racism. Nobody talks about it, or people talk about it, take it out of control. So I want to condense something down really, really simple. Adam and Eve, man and woman, they have a ton of kids, right? We know about their two sons, and Cain and Abel. One of them died. At some point, Cain wanted to live, the bad kid. It says he got married and went off to another area. Who did he marry? When did he get married? It's believed, and I believe the same thing, that in the hundreds of years that Adam and Eve were around, they had a ton of kids. I can't imagine how many, but imagine, if you're not running around with birth control and TVs to watch, you probably can pop out a baby a year without much problem. So you imagine, by the time Cain and Abel were around, could have been more kids around, but these are the two that are in focus. They're older ones. I don't know. It could have been, I believe that Adam and Eve had a ton of kids. I believe that Cain married one of his sisters, or one of his, some descendant. I believe they're all were one race. Let's get down to that. Adam and Eve, whatever color they were, I believe they were shades somewhere between white and black. So let's call them tan. They're right in the middle. So the first couple, let's call them tan. They were tan. And they had a bunch of kids, tons and tons and tons of kids. And we don't know how the variations were, but if they all came from two parents, you can have a ton of different variations. If you have kids, I have 4 kids, and they don't all look the same. They don't look identical. So you get some with my eyes, the mother's eyes, my nose. You got a lot of different variations in there. Straight hair, curly hair. So I believe they had some variation. I believe the original code for man and woman was perfect. They were the first created ones. I believe they had everything they needed to live 900 years, apparently. So we fast forward. We get down to Noah and the flood. So now we're down to a couple with the sons and their daughters, right? Their wives. So now we're getting it down to, let's call it 8 people. Noah and his wife, the 3 sons and their wives. So we got 8 people. So from the time of Noah, from the time of Adam to the time of Noah, let's call it a few hundred years, we got a lot of different variations going on. We don't know what shade of white, black, or tan Noah and his kids are. But we know they were the only ones left alive, right? So we're starting over again. Let's say we only have 4 pairs of couples to work with. Everything else has to come from that. Okay, we're called the human race, right? So we all come from the same thing. So if you just look at Noah and the ark, okay, we have tons and tons of species of all kind of creatures. But really, how do you define what a thing is? If you can only bring a pair of each type on the ark, what is a pair? A pair of each kind. What is a kind? A kind is something that can reproduce. So, for example, you take a dog. We have tons of species of dogs, but you can interbreed all of them because they're the same kind. So if you go back to Noah's day, you really could have started off with wolves or something fairly wolf-like. And through the process of genetics and years and natural selection, you could end up with a ton of different things. But a thing to note if you're into dog breeding, if you look at what's called a pure breed, let's say a poodle, you pick a dog that is the most purebred, they got the papers, they got the whole deal. These are the dogs that have the most issues, the most problems, the most possible genetic things going on. It's the best, healthiest dog? A mutt. A combination of whatever dogs. That's the best. If you look at humans, we're the same. We can't interbreed with any other animal. You can take a white person, black person, green, any color person you have, you can mix them and you can get kids. We are the same kind. If you want to look at the best human, in my opinion, you take somebody completely white and you get somebody completely dark. You mix them together and you have closer to the most perfect human. If you want some examples, you look at people like Derek Jeter, Tiger Woods, Mariah Carey, Halle Berry. You look at some of the people that are mixed. Mixed, we have the most beautiful, talented people there are. These are closer to what the original genetic design was. You can study science, genetics. You'll find out this is all true stuff. I'm trying to paraphrase a ton of different books. This is just a ton of information. If you go look up answersingenesis.org, they cover a bunch of this. If you go see the big ark that they recreated, they made a big ark to scale with animals in it and the whole 9 yards, where they show you here's how things were done. So the point I'm trying to make is that we're all the same. We're all different shades of the same kind. We're all part of the human race. We're all the same type. Shouldn't be racism. You shouldn't be any more proud of your color or lack of color than the next guy. God created all of us in his image. We can all intermix. We can all have the most beautiful babies together. We can all do God's will no matter what color we are. Personally, what I hate to see is somebody that takes racism and turns it into a doctrine. Okay, it's one thing to say, hey man, my people were made slaves. That happened. That happened to a lot of people. A lot of people throughout the years from the beginning were slaves. And that's nothing to celebrate. It's sad that happened. But where are we now? Okay, where are we now? My dad was from a long time ago. My dad was born in 1910, so he saw World War. He was in the military, two, three different branches. He was at Pearl Harbor. He was in a ship, an engine room that caught on fire, and it burned him bad in a lot of different places. So I could just as easily be silly like a lot of people and say, hey man, I want the Japanese to pay reparations for what they did to my dad. Wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. But that was war. It was what it was. I don't live there because that's not who God created me to be. God created me to be in his image, to be love. He didn't create me to be white or black or tan or anything. He created me to be love. One of the saddest things I ran into is I have a couple friends, and they listen to a variety of preachers, and that's cool. But a couple of them listen to this one preacher, and the preacher is the opposite skin color of them. Okay, cool, no big deal. I listen to everybody too. But the problem is this preacher preaches so much on race that it becomes a gospel. Like when you preach that, for example, I'm just going to tell you straight up, this is what he said, that black people originally were like the Jews. They were God's chosen people, not the Jews that we see now. It was the black people. Black people sold into slavery, and so really, if you're black, you're really the chosen race of God. True or not, you're either made in the image of God to become love or you're not. The color of your skin doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. If I had a choice, do you think I'd be this white with white hair? No. If I had a choice, I would love to have been mixed. I would like to be the next Tiger Woods. I would like to be that guy. That would be great. Didn't happen for me. So I'm going to be who God created me to be. I'm going to be in this body temporarily. When this body ceases to breathe and I step out of it, what color do you think my skin's going to be? We'll be in a glorified body. You think it's going to be white, black when we step out of these bodies? Man, this body is like a car you drive. There's a variety of colors, shapes, styles, and everything else. This is not who you are. You might look this way now, but you think you're going to be doomed to look this way or blessed to look this way? We're all going to get glorified bodies. We're all going to be changed in an instant. Become love. Stop preaching on race. Stop thinking that you're better or worse than anybody else. Be who God created you to be. Forget the race. Be who God created you to be. Love your neighbor as yourself.